There are as many part-time casual agents as there ever has been before, but there's a million fewer less, transactions. So in 2024, the average producing agent completed This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 359 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
All right, Nicole, we're going to break down what agents are actually doing. The data is in. So first, we've got a Relitix story about the post-settlement shift, how listings are concentrating among specialized high-producing agents. We'll break that down, and then we're going to shift over to a Mike Del Prete email. This just came out this morning. He dives into data like very few in this industry. He might tell the other half of this story. And then there's a new law in Alabama where buyers do not have to sign with a buyer agent to tour homes. So interesting. We'll finish off with that. All right, Nicole, first let's there's two sides to this conversation. Like, are agents after the post-settlement shift, are the top agents getting more of the business? That was one of the, kind of consensus thoughts coming out of it. Hey, the cream's going to rise to the top. The really skilled knowledge agents are going to get more of the business.
Right.
Has that taken shape? Is it more about, hey, AI really needs to disrupt real estate a little bit more for that to take shape? So we'll have that conversation. What does this data from Relitix tell us? And then when we look at part-time agents, how do they, or agents that are not producing as much, how do they still fit into the picture? Are there less? Are there more of them? What's going on there? So we're gonna give those two analysis. We got actually a bunch of charts here. If you're watching,
You love charts. It's like a chart heavy pod.
This one will be a little bit chart heavy. So if you're watching, you'll be able to enjoy those. If you're just listening to the audio, maybe jump over to the YouTube experience on this one at Now Bam on YouTube. The free and simple way to support us too is to just hit subscribe. Nicole, like almost 50% of the people that watch The Real Word are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you hit subscribe. It's a free, simple way to support us. All right, let's jump into this data. The post-settlement shift. How agents are concentrating, how listings are concentrating among specialized high-producing agents. Okay, so here's the new profile of the media listing agent as described by Relitix. Relitix is a data company. A lot of people recruiting in the business will use this data. They pull data from every MLS. And so that's where they have this data is all their pulls from the MLS. All right. The new profile of I think this might be a typo in their report, Nicole. It says media listing. I think it's median listing agent.
Okay.
Anyways, before the settlement, the median listing was handled by an agent with these production levels. So pre-settlement, this is what was happening. The median listing was handled by a 3.5 million annual producing agent, 15 listings a year, which you got 15 listings a year, you're producing more than 3.5 annual.
Hope so.
I mean, I guess you could be in a certain market where you're not, but price point, but I would say unless they're just not selling, I don't know, that 15 listings a year versus the 3.5 annual production, that seemed off to me. But 64.7% list side focus, 64.7% list side focus. So the median listing is handled by an agent who's basically doing 6.5 of their transactions are on the list side versus 3.5 being on the buy side. Okay. By February 2025, the profile of the agent handling the median listing has shifted. Now you've got 20% higher production, 4.2 million annually for the listing agents now. The agents taking listings now, they're at a 4.2 million annual production with 33% fewer listings taken annually, 10 a year. And they have a almost 70% list side focus. So 7 out of 10 of their transactions are on the listing side. Okay. So they say that this evolution reflects a market where specialization and quality outweigh volume. While agents are taking fewer listings, there's fewer listings to go around. We're going to get into some of that with the Del Prete data. While agents are taking fewer listings, they are closing more valuable deals. Prices are up and
Mhm.
focusing their efforts on seller representation. All right, Nicole, looking at this data,
Yeah.
um, before we jump into the other side of the story with the Del Prete data, what does this tell you? What do these numbers tell
I
you?
feel like it's not really honestly telling me anything. Like, it hasn't even like, we're talking about annually, it hasn't even been a year since the settlement. So, and then it's saying before the settlement, so is that, like, over the last 100 years, this is the average? Is this the prior year? Like, I
Hey guys, we'll get you right back to the pod in a second. Thank you so much for checking out The Real Word every single week. If you'd like to check out more of what we do at BAM, jump into BAMX. We just moved over to School. It's the #1 community and education platform in the world. It's school.com/BAMX to join our group. I'll drop a link right down below. Now enjoy the rest of the pod. Probably that year before, I would say.
because
I don't know.
and they're just looking at February, so we're not even looking at a full year. So now we're taking the year from February to their like, I'm guess I'm a little confused by the numbers.
So not enough data for Nicole.
Definitely not enough
How
data. I
about
mean,
How about this one? And is just throughout your career? I mean, you're 15 plus years in the business. How about this one? Does this resonate true with what you typically see? They have a section in this report card called market consolidation. The top 10% of agents control 42.64% of the listings. The concentration of listings among top performing agents has grown significantly post settlement, with the top 10% now controlling 42.64% of all listings. It's a 16.6% relative increase from pre settlement levels. So they're talking about a huge jump there in what they're looking at, where the top is getting more of the listings. Does that surprise you at all?
no, I guess it doesn't surprise me. I feel like there's so many other factors that are in play here. I think, inventory is starting to, like, increase a little bit, and naturally they're probably going to go with an agent that does produce a little bit more. So I don't know if that's directly related to the settlement, because I don't know that a 100% of these sellers are aware even of the settlement. So I guess I'm feeling like we're using some of these.
Unfortunately, that
Right. I guess
a lot of them
I
aren't
feel like we're
aware,
using
but
some of these numbers to, like, work in this favor here. Like, I just feel like we're what did you say last week? It was word salad. I feel like we have a little bit of a word
oh,
salad here.
everybody on the hot sheet is now trying to guess how many times I'll say word salad because I've been saying it on the hot sheet. So I've been on I've gone off the word salad phrase. I've been keeping it in the cooler for a while,
Yeah.
but you
'Cause
just brought it
I
back.
I'm just like, it's really hard for me to, 'cause I just feel like the people that have been, especially in our area, that have been, like, top listers, are they listing? Yeah. Are they listing more? I mean, maybe, but I don't. I think that there's still so many factors that we're seeing, like, be
Yeah,
played out, that it's hard for me to, like, validate this.
I'd say I agree with you. The data is too early on. So this is an initial data point. We're going to be able to look at this over the next 2, 4, 5 years and really see where the trend lines go. But when we talk about, the top agents getting more and more and more, to me, I really look at that in a connection with AI. I think AI is going to disrupt the real estate agent way more than the settlement has
Yeah.
disrupted anything.
Yeah.
So I look at over the next 5 years, the agents that are able to leverage AI, right? Like you have some agents that unfortunately still can't manage a Google Calendar right now. When you have agents that are using AI to their advantage, it's going to leave a lot of people behind. And I think that's where you're going to see some of this disruption and, the top producing agents that are using the technology of today are going to be able to advance. What I would say that is also confusing about some of this data, or maybe just doesn't have a deep enough look on it, is that, remember, in end of 2020, in 2021, maybe even for some in the beginning of 22, we were in that those COVID years.
It's like a boom.
And well, I mean, obviously there was the boom, so the transactions were higher, and we're going to get
Yeah.
into the difference of transactions here in a second, the levels. But you also had customers and sellers who didn't really want to interview three people because that meant three people coming into their home. So they, there was like a first come, first serve type of situation that was happening during COVID a little bit.
Okay.
And it was relatively, I'm not going to say easy, but easier
I
for
guess
an agent to get a listing during that time frame. There was more of them.
yeah.
And a consumer didn't really want. Now consumers, the market has gotten harder. Real estate's been in a recession the last 2 years. The economy hasn't, but real estate has. You can measure that by almost any degree, right? And customers and sellers are being more selective in their choice. They're doing a little bit
Maybe.
more homework.
I
And
guess
so,
I guess I'm surprised. Like, I'm a little surprised. Like, what seller didn't want to have the best agent working for them, though? No?
oh, during COVID, it was fast moving and it felt gold rushy. It felt like
So they were just snagging anybody off the street?
it felt jittery. I'm not saying everybody did. What I'm saying is there were some consumers that didn't interview three people because they didn't want three people coming in their house during COVID. And it was just like, hey, I know things are moving fast. It's like they drank 4 cups of coffee. Now they've slowed down. They're just drinking one an hour and a half after they wake up, maybe 2 cups all in the morning. They're not drinking it all throughout
So
the
we're going from
day.
a salad to breakfast, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love breakfast, by the
I
way.
I do too.
Um, so I do think, and let me know in the comments if I'm off on this. If you're seeing it in your market, are you seeing sellers interview maybe another agent or two agents versus just one? Has that increased since 2020, 2021? Like, do you see any difference in the comments? Let me know on how sellers are going about selecting a listing agent. Are they being a little bit more, um, I don't know, a little bit more disciplined in that approach? Talking about discipline, Mike Del Prete.
Or maybe they're just picking the top listing agent every time. So they're not interviewing, they're just like, "Oh, they're the best. I'm going with them."
Yeah, I
I
mean
mean,
these
that's kind of what this I feel like this is what it's, like, kinda saying, right?
these
Like,
numbers have increased though since post settlement. So, all of a sudden now post settlement they're just picking the best agent, or
well,
are
that's
they
what I don't
interviewing?
understand. Like, that's why this whole
My
thing is
point
just so bizarre, and it's
my
only
point
been,
is if
like,
they're
4 days since the settlement happened too, so
I mean, it's been 6 months, but my point is if you're interviewing more people, then the best agent usually stands out
of course.
because you're comparing them. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. But speaking of discipline and speaking of the best, we've got a Mike Del Prete newsletter. He's got smart, data-driven insights. This just came out this morning. Luckily, it's a good tie-in to this topic. The headline of the newsletter is "Casual Part-Time Agents Not Going Anywhere." So let's look at the complete other side of the spectrum here. Agent productivity. Haley, if you can put this one up on the screen. Agent productivity in 2024, 40% of agents did 1 to 2 transactions. 23% did 3 to 5. 37% did 6+ transactions. Now there's a whole group that did none, but this is agents that produced something.
Yeah.
Okay. So because somebody's going to say, why do these numbers add up to 100? There's all these agents that didn't do any deals. He took the agents that don't do any business out.
Ow.
40% of the agents
Well,
that
those
do
aren't
business,
part-time agents, those are just they're just not working.
they're just license holders. So
Yeah.
he removed that I think that's probably fair when we're looking at this data, right? So 40% of agents who did something only did 1 to 2, 23% did 3 to 5, and 37% did 6+. Okay. Why does this matter? The down market, which we've been in for the last couple of years, is revealing some key truths about the fragmented nature of real estate and what happens to agent production when there are a million fewer sales to go around. Okay. The point is, there are as many part-time casual agents as there ever has been before, but there's a million fewer less, transactions. So in 2024, the average producing agent completed 4 transactions. In 2021, the average producing agent completed 5.1. Nicole, when you had a million more transactions, those numbers are reflective of how many existing home sales. About 4 million existing home sales last year, 2024. In 2021, about 5 million existing home sales. Okay. And so it's no shock that you had 5 transactions in 21 on average, and 4 for every million. The average producing agent gets 1 transaction
Yeah.
out of that million. This analysis is provided by CoreLogic. So if you're wondering where Del Prete got it, you got it from CoreLogic. Okay, they've got 85% market coverage. So this isn't the entire picture of every single transaction. It's missing about 15%. Okay. Obviously each transaction, each sale is 2 transactions, one buy, one sell. So we get that. If we look at average transactions per agent from 21 to 22, that follows the line of how many fewer transactions are happening in the market. Now, interestingly enough, though, like the drop for part-time agent or the drop for the average, 4 in 2024 versus 3.4 million average or transactions, it's not as significant as the drop in 2021. If you could show that chart of the 4 years. So the statement here from Del Prete is the market continues to be dominated by casual part-time agents, 40% doing 1 to 2 transactions. So I think we need to define part-time agent. How he's defining it is part-time agent who does 5 or fewer transactions per year. If you were to consider 5 or fewer, then the number of part-time producing agents is 63% of the transactions. 63% of the transactions are being done by someone with 5 or fewer transactions. How do you define part-time agent, Nicole?
Well, I feel like I consider a part-time agent someone that has like a full-time job and is doing this part-time. Because I do think that there could be some part-time agents that are killing it.
There are.
Yeah.
There definitely are.
So I
Yeah.
guess that's where I hiccup here because to me, what I'm seeing is that 1 to 2 transactions. I mean, it looks like we're still maybe getting just some new agents entering the real estate market though too. So in their first,
Remember, there's a whole group, hundreds of thousands,
I know.
million
Yeah.
really plus that aren't doing any transactions.
Right. Yeah. So again, that's where I always have a hard time with part-time agents because it's like, what's the true definition? And I get it. In this situation, it's transactions, but to me, a part-time agent is more someone that's doing it like legit part-time.
So is that like hours invested in or
Yeah, well, hours. Well, yeah, I guess it would be hours or hours you're giving to the business. Yeah, because
yeah,
if you're like a nurse, like in an ER, you're not answering your phone or doing a transaction during those
right.
times. But then, like on the weekends, like you're helping someone out because you know
Yeah.
them.
Listen, I think this is one of the reasons where, teams have really taken up a lot of market share because you can have a role on a team um, and kind of support that team in a part-time atmosphere. If you're building a solo business, it's really hard to be, building something of any type of substance, anything meaningful in terms of when we're just meaningful, meaning like looking at the agents doing 6+ transactions. It's hard to do that in limited time. It's not,
Yeah,
there's some people that have done it. Typically those that have done it had some type of full-time commitment into the business, whether they're working a 40-hour job and putting 60 hours into real estate, or they were full-time in real estate at one point. Typically the people that are doing it like just with limited hours in a week that are doing it from a solo perspective had something in the past that gave them that knowledge and that access to leads too. You need
right.
access to leads somehow, whether
Yeah,
you're producing them or, getting them somewhere else. Since 2021, the number of agents doing 1 to 2 transactions per year has increased slightly. So the agents that are only doing 1 to 2 a year, that has actually increased slightly since
Well, but
2021,
you wonder how many people though in 2021 were doing maybe 15 deals,
and
and
then
as
dropped
soon
under
as the
6.
market sort of shifted a little bit, they're now down to 2.
And that shows up in the data. The number of agents doing 6 plus transactions has dropped considerably.
Yeah, so
Okay, so
they're now in a different bracket.
from 2021 to today, you have 81,000 agents less. You have 81,000 less agents doing 6 plus transactions. It was easier in 2021 to do
For
6
sure.
plus.
Yeah.
You have a lot of agents, Nicole, that maybe you have all the COVID agents, they call them, right? They got COVID babies. One of my daughters is a COVID baby born in
COVID baby.
2020.
Was she oh, 'cause she was born in during COVID or, like, she was
She was born in
conceived during
2020.
COVID?
Yeah, born in 2020
Yeah.
in at Yale Hospital where you couldn't even have anybody. I was the only person that could be there. I was useless.
Yeah, well, I think that I mean, do you well, I get you like having your I don't know that I'd want my mom in there. Did Nicole want her mom in there? You don't want your mom in there.
I wanted the distraction, but I was the only
The
one there to
distraction.
yeah. I was now the distraction. I
Oh,
wanted
like
other
you
people
were responsible, you mean?
I wanted distractions to
You
make up
didn't
for
want
my
any
incompetence.
responsibility.
Well, you've got COVID babies. You've got COVID babies in real estate, COVID
Yes.
agents, they call them.
Okay.
That kinda started in that 2020, 2021. That's when they started their career, okay? Well, if you were a COVID agent on a team producing a high volume of leads, and then all of a sudden come 2023, you're like, "Man, 2 years in a row, I've done 25 plus transactions." And some of these COVID agents, like, came out of the gates really strong, and they've done 25 plus transactions 2 years in a row. They got 50 under their belt. Come 2023, they're like, "Hey, peace out on the team. I don't need these leads. This is an easy business. This is an easy game." What happens? Market plummets, leads disappear, lockup effect, and you see that those agents go from $8 million a year to less than $1 million in volume a year. It's like,
Yeah.
what happened to that agent?
Yeah.
They didn't understand the market changes. They didn't understand where they were getting leads from. And it's listen, even when you're 3 years and you got to go through some market shifts to understand, how to plan ahead of that. So 81,000 less agents from 21 to today doing 6 plus transactions, actually not surprising at all. 3 to 5, it's the same number. We've got the chart here for agent productivity. And then 22,000 more agents doing 1 to 2 transactions. So, some of those agents dropping out of that 6 plus are dropping into the 1.2,
For
1 to
sure.
2.
Yeah.
No question about it. Here's how many producing agents there are. Not that big of a difference, though, Nicole. Producing agents in 2021, 901,000. In 22, 893,000. So these are the agents that are doing a deal, at least, right? You've got about 2.5 million agents supposedly in the business, so that you got a whole bunch not doing any business. All right, 855,000 in 2023, and then 840,000 in 2024. So not a huge drop off. And Del Prete says this about agents. Listen up. As I've said in the past, agents are like cockroaches. They're survivors and tend to stick around. So even with 25% fewer sales in 2024 compared to 21, there were only 7% fewer producing agents. So the part-time the agent getting in, the whatever agent you want to call it, they're sticking around. And now again, this is 85% of the market with CoreLogic. It's not reflective of the whole thing, but I think it probably translates to most markets.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think this is these numbers are much more effective than the last article we read.
Agents, we all want and need more listings. We want to be able to capture the business from our clients. So it means we need to stay in front of them, front and center when they're thinking about real estate, when they're making a real estate decision. So I love what Reminder Media is doing for agents across the country, producing high quality physical and digital magazines where you can tell a full story about what's going on in your community, what's happening in the market, and reminding people that you are the expert that they should be reaching out to when it comes to making a real estate decision. Reminder Media is a resource that you need in your corner to stay in front of your clients. You also get a free sample magazine by using the link that I'll put right down below. Check out Reminder Media and everything that they have to offer you and helping you stay in front of your clients. Yeah, the way he breaks it down,
Yeah.
for sure. No offense
No, I'm just saying
to
there's real numbers. Like we
yeah,
have real years. We have real data.
yeah, it goes back a little bit further,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what you wanted to see,
Yeah.
where the point was going back on the other one. So casual part-time agents not going anywhere. If you lean into some of the data we were talking about before with Relitix, and maybe, and I'm curious in the comments, like, are you seeing market share go to the agents that usually get the listings? Is that increasing in your market? And then are you also on the flip side seeing just like that casual agent or that part-time agent, whatever you want to call them, just not going anywhere? Okay. Because the consensus coming out of, June and August of last year was they're not going to stick around. You and I have both said, like, hey, NAR isn't going anywhere. That's going to keep agent count high in the short term. I've kind of just come to that acknowledgement that even when you're seeing them, some of these boards drop, you're just not seeing those numbers decline at a rapid rate.
No.
Maybe something else will change and I'll change my mind on that, but
Again,
you're
I
not
think I
seeing
think like we've always said though, the cost of entry into real estate is so
right.
minimal.
And until
So,
that gets changed,
yeah,
you know, the thought of getting into real estate, it's alluring, and people are continuing to do it even in a real estate recession.
absolutely.
All right, Alabama. We'll just touch on this quickly. They've got a new law that allows buyers to tour homes without contract. Attention, attention. Michael Ketchmark, Alabama Association of I think I said Alabama. I didn't mean
No,
to for my
I heard
for my
Alabama, but that could have just been me. I'm usually pretty keen on your your flubs.
for my Alabama friends.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying Alabama Association of Realtors. CEO Jeremy Walker said the association was in favor of buyer broker agreements in general, but felt requiring one for a home tour puts buyers under duress. So who's under duress? It's the buyers. And in an Alabama bill that was passed into law last week, now buyers can tour homes without having to sign a contract with an agent. Nicole, this is House Bill 230. It was passed unanimously by Alabama lawmakers. It was signed in by the governor of Alabama.
Oh,
Alabama.
you did it again.
I know, Alabama.
What's going on?
Thoughts? What do you think about this?
I don't know what I think about it.
Geez, you don't know what you think about much here today.
No,
Are you
not
for it or
today.
against it? Do you think
I
do you think buyers should be able to tour a home without signing a buyer rep?
I just think it's in everybody's best interest to have a buyer rep. Yeah. Again,
Okay.
like put it in for one house. We could still court each other if it works out. It works out. I think it's in people's best interest on both ends
And I
to have a buyer broker. Yeah.
and I think that's where the settlement landed, where it was like starting the conversation earlier about what it all means and who pay. There's only three ways a buyer agent can get paid, and like understanding that as part of the process early in the process, as opposed to like when you're signing
Yeah.
a PNS
Yeah.
is a good thing. Purchase sale agreement
Absolutely.
rather is a good thing. There was a statement of interest that the DOJ warned that buyer broker agreements, even for those for a no obligation showing, have the potential to limit how brokers compete. So, anyways, we'll see if more states kind of go with what Alabama is saying here. And, you know, we're in a world right now where you're going to hear more and more about letting the free market kind of work, which is contradictory to some of the settlement stuff.
Oh,
It,
100%.
it's
Yeah.
contradictory to CCP. I think you're going to see maybe this week, maybe CCP news is going to come out. I was checking before the pod. I'm like, it could be as early as today. It might be next week. It's going to be soon. That looks like it's going away. That's kind of the world we're living in right now. I do believe, I believe that buyers should have all the information up front. And if you're not going to sign a touring agreement, maybe sending a read only form to them would be something that I think would just clear up questions. Okay.
Right.
They can use the,
Educate them.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not going to make them sign, maybe a requirement that a read only form needs to be sent up front. Okay. I think those are really important if you're not going to have a signature going in. And I'm fine with touring agreement signatures too. It doesn't have to just be for me, buyer agency. I agree with you. Like the buyer agency for one house, you know,
Well,
it
especially because if they
makes
disclose
sense. But
things, like, there needs to be an understanding of what it means when you're, like, disclosing information to me, you know?
yeah,
Like, I think that there's a lot of value there that you can build with the buyer just so that they understand because I don't think they really truly understand
Re-
all of that.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can't force a buyer to sign anything in order to tour a house.
Yeah.
Like that's not a rule or a law for buyers. Buyers
No,
can,
but as an
go
agent, I
tour
don't
the
have to
house.
take you in the house.
Right. To have an agent by your side,
Yeah.
then that's where you get to do we have a read only form? Do we have a touring form, or do we have a buyer agency form? Alabama now says buyers can tour homes without contract. And so that's the decision they've made. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. And let us know what you think about the agents. Are the best listing agents getting more of the pie? Are part-time agents, casual agents eating into your share? Are you worried about that? Just some interesting stats coming out of the real estate industry. We're all awaiting the NAR CCP information. It could be out any day, I'm hearing. Maybe this week, maybe next week. It's going to be soon. We're going to get that vote and that decision. I think it's going away, but we'll find out. We'll stick in there and see what that information is when we get it. Nicole,
Just a bunch of cockroaches over here.
have you ever eaten a cockroach?
Eating a cockroach?
Yeah.
No. Are
Chocolate
you
covered
supposed to eat
cockroach?
those? No.
No, neither have I. Just
Why
wondering
the
if you
hell
have.
would you where did that come from? Are you hungry? It's not breakfast.
Isn't there chocolate covered cockroaches? Or is
Not
it critters? It's
many.
crickets. It's crickets. It's
Oh,
not cockroaches.
Jesus.
Okay. Luckily, I haven't
On
had to
that
deal
note.
with any cockroaches.
I thought
Although,
that's kind of
Nicole,
a freaking breed.
you remember that rental I had, and I said there was cockroaches in the house, and you remember that individual who owned the house was not very pleased with those comments from me.
No, but you weren't trying to eat them.
I wasn't. They were behind the fridge though,
Okay.
which is a little too close to what I am eating.
Right.
And
Okey-doke.
luckily, I had photos because that person tried to strong arm me, and I kind of got out of that quickly.
Yeah.
Having a way to disseminate information can work to your advantage. It's always a good thing.
On that note.
On that note,
Guys.
Nicole, I'll see you next time. Keep it real, guys.